That Oregon game is not looking so good for Georgia anymore.
Yeah, I'm
Kinda
glad we
crazy.
don't have to listen to that no more.
Yeah,
Oh, it was the first week of the season and blah, 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 blah.
They still beat Tennessee, though. So
Who?
Georgia.
No, I was talking about how they were trying to pump up Oregon based on the fact that they only lost to Georgia. Like,
Yeah, but
they got waxed.
Yeah.
Didn't even compete.
Yeah.
It'd be something if it was.
I was
a
talking
good
about
game.
for Georgia, though. Because their win against them doesn't look as good.
Well,
Somewhat.
they'll still be number one. And if they win the SEC, they'll be number one.
Yeah, because I can't imagine after almost basically struggling with Arkansas that LSU is going to beat Georgia.
Is that who's? Yeah. Yeah, it's probably gonna be LSU now. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep. I mean,
Fighting
I'm
Brian
sure
Kelly's. Fell their way into the damn SEC championship game in year one. Son of a bitch.
It took Nick Saban to finally struggle for him to get there, though. So, anyway, the house is now divided with our resident Michigan fan, Marcus Turo, and your resident Ohio State fan, it's JTG. Let's go ahead and start off with you guys' game since we haven't done that in a while. Michigan went ahead and beat Nebraska. What was the score again?
34-3.
Okay. Thoughts?
34-3. Another methodical win. Not great weather conditions, but that doesn't stop the road graders up front. Not a whole lot to say, man. Not a lot negative to point out, other than the fact that we're still struggling with our wide receivers. And, sometimes it's easy to just lay back and be like, oh, JJ's missing. He needs to put more air into those throws. If I'm watching the ball go through your hands, Cornelius Johnson, talking to you again for the third week in a row, that's not on the quarterback, man. First of all, great receiving cores make plays, right? So they help their quarterbacks out. If we're sitting up here every single time we get an incompletion saying, oh, the ball placement wasn't right. Ball placement. Make a play so that we can definitively say that it's the ball placement. But right now, I can't venture too far away from wideouts going up trying to make plays. Ronnie Bell is the only one that seems like he's able to still be productive through the struggles. So I don't know. We'll continue to ramp up there. The problem is, nobody can force us to use those guys either. It doesn't really seem like there's anybody man enough to make us do it as of yet. So
Sure.
I'd much rather have an offense that's, north of 35 points a game, and there's just some fine-tuning we got to do to get to, over the top, like unstoppable. I'd rather have that late in the season than to be like, we don't know who we are. We don't know what our identity is. We still have, glaring deficiencies on one side of the ball. Like, you can't say any of that about Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
10-0 for the first time since 2006, since the number two game. So I'm not gonna let great be the enemy of good. In saying that I'm worried about anything, because for you to be able to just drop back and throw the ball, or to sit back and put 8 or 9 in the box, you kind of have to be in the advantageous position to do that. Are you going to do that when you're down? I don't think so. I struggle to put together the situation based off of everything that I've seen from Michigan. The situation where Michigan is not only forced to use their wide receivers, but at the same time, they have to chase because the other side's offense is scoring points as well. Great defense is a great defense in a running game is an equalizer to talent and explosiveness. And based on everything I've seen from this team from the last 2 years, that is not just something that just happens. One team in the last 2 years has been able to do that, and it was Georgia. And I just think that defense that they had was it was like the defensive version of 2018 LSU.
Mm-hmm.
The defensive version.
Yeah.
And so nobody was going to beat those guys that year, not even the Heisman winner and Bryce Young. This year, they're still good, They're still good, but it's not that.
Definitely not that.
It's not that. And so I just don't see the situation where JJ has to throw for 400 yards for us to win the game. I don't see somebody putting us in that position.
I don't either. The really interesting thing that I see though is that, we've been saying pretty much all year that obviously Ohio State and Michigan, two of the best teams in college football right now, but they seem to be struggling very similarly, although not obviously the exact same. Where it's like our offense is really good passing the ball, but obviously due to injuries and things of that nature and offensive line play, our running game just isn't where it should be, especially this late in November. But you guys, the passing game and maybe even just the receivers in this case aren't playing to where they should probably be.
It's been this weird kind of headache all year because we don't take them religiously. Some teams take two shots like that a quarter. You might get 5 in a game on a regular basis for Michigan. Now, the last couple of weeks, that number has gone up because they've put an emphasis on trying to drive the ball downfield. Mm-hmm. But normally, we don't have a lot of that because we're handing the ball off to the tailbacks. So if you're talking about 5 deep ball shots, right? Something with multiple vertical routes. And out of those 5, you get 2 wide receiver drops, 2 overthrows, and one of them is covered well by the defense. First of all, the defense only imposed one of those things on you. Second of all, it's the misses, the miscommunications that keep you from, going for 9 of 17, 170 yards, and maybe we go 17 of 19 and we get, 300 yards because we're hitting on those deep shots and we're still accurate on the short to intermediate throws. Mm-hmm. So it's an execution thing. It's not like they're never getting separation, but when they do get separation, we either drop the ball or we overthrow it. So it's something's got to give there. Something's got to give. But it's the problem isn't so big that cause concern because we're talking about 2 throws a game here, mostly.
Yeah.
We're talking about 2 throws and maybe 2 more 50-50 balls a game. That's something that can be made up in the waning weeks of a season. If it was like we could barely get 100 yards passing, if we had Iowa's passing offense, I would be scared. If we had Wisconsin's passing offense, I'd be nervous. But we don't, It's been more efficient than that in weeks past. And if anything, this game should show you that Michigan is much more apt to play in the weather, having a game like that. Not that we didn't already know that, but just, saying like having that game on your resume. Other teams have had that game on their resume so far. And then, going forward in the season, you'll want to have that under your belt. You want to be prepared for anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the next couple of games that we mentioned are going to just further prove that no one knows what's going on with the Big Ten West. Iowa beat Wisconsin 24-10.
Look at Iowa storming back, coming up. If Iowa ends up in the championship game, dog, after all this shit this year, with what has to be at least tied for the worst offensive coordinator in the entire country with Josh Gaddis and Brian Ferentz being tied. If they end up in the Big Ten championship this year, you can never fire Kurt Ferentz. You could never. I already think you could never fire him. But he becomes even more unfireable if he ends up in the Big Ten championship game again for the second year in a row.
Yeah, I mean their defense is just so good. Cooper, Riley Moss, like
I tell you what, man. The more I watch those guys play, the more confidence that I have in what we were able to do against them. I guess.
Agreed.
Like I went to this thing thinking like, okay. They're good. They're stout, and they they're gap sound. They are disciplined. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's what I was looking for, right? But I just didn't think that they were going to be as good as they were last year. I didn't think that they were going to be able to keep them in games the way that they were last year, especially when you talk about the offense this year, religiously setting them up with short fields and putting them back on the field by going out 3 and out, that kind of stuff. And they've just risen to the occasion game after game after game after game. And it's like, it's kind of how I felt about Pat Fitzgerald at the beginning of the season. Like, oh, you can't count him out. You literally can't count him out. And I definitely counted the Iowa Hawkeyes out dead in the water.
Oh yeah,
way early in the season.
Yeah,
shit. After we beat them, but I'm impressed because that defense has been able to keep them alive, along with also putrid play from whoever is at the top from any given week, in and out. But yeah, they're there. They're in the fight. Need a little help, but they are there.
And on the opposite side, I'm still just not sure of what to make of Jim Leonard's Badgers, because sure they've had some decent wins, but it's not.
I do not think that. Well, I don't know. Maybe he is coming back. There's some noise coming out of Wisconsin, out of Madison, that a certain highly touted running back is looking elsewhere for his post-Badger playing time. And, the tea leaves maybe have his wind blowing up to Ann Arbor. Possibly. I don't know. Speculation. But that's what the talk is after next season. I mean, that's what the Sayers are saying.
Okay.
We would love to have you, Braylon. Love to have you. But they're 1 week up, 1 week down. If I had to put my money on who's not going to win the West, it'd be Wisconsin.
I would agree. Well, I think at this point
hey, who knows? Who knows?
It's just so much going on in the West that and it's a lot of like teams that shouldn't be losing.
Yeah.
So
the only people that are out of it for sure at this point is Northwest, and that only happened after this loss this week,
right?
Because they were still mathematically in it after last week's loss.
Absolutely crazy, but hey, it is what it is. Purdue beat Illinois 31-24. So now Illinois is down with everybody else.
Illinois, all I needed you to do was stay ranked, bro. You had Michigan State and you had Purdue before you got to us. All we needed you to do was stay ranked. You could have played your way into a New Year's Six bowl.
That's not happening.
You literally
from out of nowhere too.
Like, damn, you really shit the bed in November. Cause don't get no bright ideas. Y'all taking an L next week. Y'all taking an L next week. That's the ramp up. Y'all have to. And we got to put y'all in the mud, too. It's not even going to be a close game. Sorry.
The irony in Chase Brown doing the Heisman pose in a game that he lost.
That he lost and got injured? Don't be playing with the football guys like that, bro. Playing with the football guys. First of all, if I'd have lost to Michigan State the week before, I'd definitely not hitting the Heisman pose now. Definitely not hitting the Heisman pose.
That is a fact.
I got to do that in like the Big Ten championship game or something. Like I have to overcome what just happened to us the following week, which they very clearly did not, versus the team that they should have beaten, Purdue. Now that win is going to look like absolutely nothing to the committee. I could see them sliding us back to, well, no, because TCU didn't necessarily have a great showing against Texas.
And the AP had you guys at 3.
Oh, fuck the AP.
Well, sure. But
and they certainly don't respect the AP, so.
Yeah. No, for sure. So, I don't know.
I mean, 3 is fine for where we're at, obviously, because we play each other, and that'll settle that self out, and we could potentially get a top 2 seed. But it's disheartening because everything is resume driven to this committee, and it's like they're just gonna turn around and look at our resume and be like, oh well, they only have that one top 25 win, even though we played several teams that were ranked in the top 25. They're just not your ranking.
Yeah, okay, so that's gonna bother me because Georgia has now played 2 ranked teams or 3. I think South Carolina may have been ranked when they played them. They're ranked 25.
I think they played Kentucky.
They just played, or no, I think they're about to play Kentucky, and Kentucky's not going to be ranked.
Yeah.
I've got Oregon and Tennessee.
Oregon, there you go. Oregon and Tennessee.
And so we have played, even if you don't look at it as a top 5 team anymore, we have played a Notre Dame that's 19. And we play Penn State and going to play you guys. You guys have played will have played us and Penn State, and I think another ranked team. Oh, Illinois.
Illinois is not going to be ranked. But again, when they say ranked, they only mean college football ranked. Who's still in our top 25, and how many of those teams have you beaten? Is what they're judging on. So it's
we still have 2. By the end of the season, Georgia will have only had 2, and you guys will have had 2.
Well, at the end of the season, if we do what we're supposed to, what we want to do, and we went out and win the conference championship, there will be no argument to keep us out of the top 2. We'll be arguing for top 1 at that point.
I got a question for that here. Yeah. Once we get, I guess, technically out of conference, but I definitely wonder how the final top 4 will shape. I guess I just gave it away, but
what it ends up doing though is if you're a 1-loss team. Now, if you're a 1-loss, now you're fighting with 1-loss teams from out of conference and guys who fell just short of making their championship games and things of that nature. And now we're asking the committee to determine who's the better team, and their number one prevailing factor is how many of these arbitrarily ranked 25 teams did you beat? And at the end of the year, we're going to have 2. Maybe. Yeah. 2.
Because Georgia's going to get in there more than likely, and so then you got to fight.
So it really keeps you from getting the most advantageous position in the playoff, which is the number 1 spot, because your record's kind of set in stone already. They already have the teams that they're going to consider good or competitive, and that list is not going to change too much in the next 3 weeks before championship weekend.
Yeah.
So it's like this shit was set the minute they put out those first rankings, exactly who was more than likely going to fall where, or at very least what a team's ceiling was in terms of college football playoff is and what their floor is. And I would say in a truly objective system, every team, whether that's 1 through 4 or 1 through 12, should have a ceiling of the number 1 seed and a floor of the number 12. That's fair.
Agreed.
That's fair to me. But
I'd agree. We'll talk about it more in a second.
Yeah.
Minnesota beat Northwestern 31-3, which I would think would be just about expected.
I had to go row the boat. Row the boat.
No Tanner Morgan, but Mo Ibrahim being a guy.
Yeah, didn't need him.
3 touchdowns, 178 yards is what you need.
Go get it. Go get it. Row the boat, baby.
They're still in there at that on that Big Ten West.
What are they, 4-3 in the conference?
4-3. So now it's 4 teams 4-3, with Wisconsin now being 3-4.
Good Lord.
So it's Illinois, Iowa, Purdue, and Minnesota.
Terrible football over there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Just keep looking for one person to be like, oh, yep, it's ours. We got it.
Well, you thought that was going to be Illinois, but now it's like.
How does that happen, Brett Bielema? How? Against 2 of the worst teams on your schedule.
Purdue?
Is Purdue good?
Are they the worst?
I said 2 of the worst.
I mean, Michigan State for sure.
Okay. So outside of Michigan State, who's the second worst team on that schedule?
Northwestern? Who they haven't played yet.
They haven't played them yet.
Chattanooga?
Okay. Oh, well.
Wyoming?
Your Big Ten schedule. I'm not talking out of conference.
Indiana?
Is Purdue that much better than Indiana?
They're fighting for the West.
I mean, when they're good, well, Indiana doesn't have that luxury. They play in the East. But I'm saying, are they, when they're good, they're good. They're better than Indiana. But the problem is they haven't been good every week. Yeah, so are they that much better than Indiana? I don't know.
Michigan State beat Rutgers.
Yo,
27-21.
What's up with y'all? What's up, man? And they knocked out my boy Connor Bazelak. Knocked him out the game.
Connor Bazelak is Indiana.
Where were we at? Oh, Rutgers.
Rutgers.
That's Wimset.
Yeah.
Gavin Wimset. We played them last week. Okay, yeah. Wrong game. Okay. You know what? I'm not mad at that loss. I'm not mad at that one just because I think Michigan State's a little bit more of a mature team. They're still not a good football team. And Rutgers could have beat them, but I think they still have enough leaders on Michigan State squad, Jalen Berger, Xavier Henderson, to pull out a win versus a bad team, and that's just what Rutgers is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not totally surprised that they dropped that one. Much less surprised about this one than last week's versus Illinois. Give Gavin Wimsatt another offseason. Let's see what they come back with next year. We actually recruited him in Michigan. Yeah, we recruited him. Mm-hmm. So I expect him to make some strides in the offseason. Be on the lookout for Gavin Wimsatt in Rutgers as one of those sleeper dark horse teams going into the offseason for sure.
Yeah, especially with a lot of quarterbacks leaving and, the next guy up not having much experience. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see. We'll definitely see what's going on with Rutgers next year. Penn State beat Maryland 30-0. Penn State's on a run right now after losing Ohio State.
God damn it, Loxley. God damn it. God damn it. So you lost to Penn State, you lost to Michigan, you lost to Ohio State, you lost to Michigan State. Dog, what am I going to do with that? You haven't beaten anybody this year that lets me know that you've taken a step forward. No one.
Ohio State's playing them next week.
I know.
Oh, did you say that? Okay.
No, I mean, I probably said that they lost to them already, but like, do we really need to?
Oh no, I just.
You know what I mean? Like, do I really need to?
No.
That would be a monumental upset. Monumental upset.
No, it would.
Honestly, I don't even want that because what I just said about Illinois not being a good win anymore. If y'all fuck around and lose to Maryland, they might slide us back to 4 just off GP. Whether we beat y'all or not.
Right, that's a fact. But no.
But yeah, man, you missed me with all that Loxley shit. Matter of fact, I think you and Josh Gaddis should reunite and try to make it work somewhere. You know what I mean? I think y'all should do like a buddy cop film somewhere at a lowly university. Yes. And try to make a name for yourselves there. Because it ain't happening here, dog. This is year 5 for Mike Loxley. 4 or 5. So here we are, year 5. You have what was thought to be the second best quarterback in the Big Ten at the time. Mm-hmm. Coming up the all season, you got some new young backs. You got an improved offensive line, an improved defense, and we go out there and we have another 5-loss season. You got to beat one of those teams to tell me that you're taking a step forward. Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. That is what your upward mobility looks like in the Big Ten. It has to go through those teams. So if you are improving, that comes with beating one of those teams. Doesn't come with your, winning your division crossover game. Doesn't come with beating up on Rutgers or Indiana or anybody else that they beat this year. You got to beat the big dogs. You got to show that you can compete there. Because, see, you're not going to hold on to that wide receiver talent and that the running back talent and even the quarterbacks you've been able to get, thinking that they're going to be punching bags for the guys at the top again. Why not just go to Michigan State? Why not just go to Penn State? You're not going to be able to keep those borders up around the DMV area as long as you are not elevating your guys' play. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, man, another disappointing year for Loxley, in my estimation, because this is not what he was looking for, I don't think.
Yeah, 5-loss season is definitely not what he's looking for, I would think. But on the other side, you got to be at least a little happy that Penn State is moving up the board so that it looks like a better win for the both of us.
I mean, it was going to be our only ranked win anyway you cut it until we get to Ohio State. So, sure. I mean, it looks fine, looks great. I think I could see them hovering somewhere around, if they went out for the rest of the season, maybe 11, 12-ish, somewhere
They're at
in there.
11 now, I think.
Is that what they were ranked this week?
14.
14, yeah.
And they're in the AP 11. Obviously, we won't know what they're.
So maybe they move up a spot for blowing out Maryland. I think by season's end, they will probably settle somewhere around 11 or 12. I don't know. And we can't worry about it. We just got to win out and get what we get, I guess. I guess number 1 will not be possible for a Big Ten team for the foreseeable future, until they expand. And even then, I don't know how feasible it's going to be. So we'll see.
That we will. Ohio State beat Indiana 56-14. At the very least, I'm happy that they're at least somewhat looking like themselves again against Indiana. So, I mean, it's only so much that I can really say. Great play from C.J. Stroud. Good play from some of the defensive playmakers. You know, I really can't fault at any point any of the game. The one thing that I can say that's a negative going into the rest of the season is running back depth, which is, I guess, somewhat been a problem because it's always seemed like off and on for Trey and Chop, but I don't know what to say now. Like, Maya is back injured again, and so we're down to Xavier Johnson and Dallin Hayden, which they looked okay in this game, but again, it's Indiana, so I really don't know what to say as far as that goes. If we can get that going, or if we can get one of our guys healthy again, I'll be happy. But until I see that happening, it could be a tough one. It could be at least a very close one in a couple weeks.
The way that I looked at it, the running game is like they came out with a purpose in the first quarter, right? They got 100 yards right away, and I think Mayan had like 140 total in the first half.
Before he got injured, he went off.
Yeah, so I think that in the second half, once Mayan went out, it was a little bit different. Y'all's running game is very running back driven. I think the running backs do a lot of the work, a lot of the lion's share of the work.
I would agree with that.
And like that would be the thing going into that game that's going to be most crucial is the health of that room. Is whether or not we're going to be looking at Travion and Mayan versus, like you said, Johnson and Hayden, because that to me completely flips the dynamic of the game completely. If you're telling me we got to deal with Don Hayden in the backfield, okay, bet. Well, just 8 in the box, I guess, and we'll play cover 4 the whole game. Just see if you can dink and dunk us to a win. Literally, because I don't believe that'll beat us. Even with Travion Henderson, I don't think that can beat us. Now, Mayan Williams is the more physical runner. He's the one you got to worry about, around the tops in the countries and yak yardage, broken tackles. He's up near the top in the country. That's the difference maker there that can kind of carry the load for you guys and keep you in offensive balance, so that we can't play you either one way.
Yeah.
If he's not healthy, that's a plus for us for sure. That is definitely a positive thing for us. So that'll be something to watch here in the next couple of weeks. Other than that, I mean, 56-10, it ain't really much you can take from that.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're
another rainy,
snowy,
whatever it was. Yeah, snowy game. But they were able to do what they wanted to this game, though. So.
Yeah. A little different, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
should be noted that
poor
Mayan,
Hoosiers.
right. Should be noted that Mayan said, "We good, go Bucks."
I don't know what that means, but okay.
So hopefully,
we good, go Bucks. I don't know what that means.
Hopefully, it doesn't mean we good because we won the game.
Boy got taken off on the gator, so I don't know. We didn't see no boot, but he sure wasn't walking off under his own power. So
maybe his foot was just a little agitated, and so he's good.
I bet it was agitated. Ankle sprain will do that to you.
Let's not wish that on my guy.
Oh, I'm not wishing it. I'm just telling you what it looked like.
Let's see. Anyway, so the thing that I kind of, I guess, wanted to ask you was that, and I don't know if we've discussed this before, but do you think that if Ohio State and Michigan has a close game, both could end up going into...
I would say that they are much more likely to do that for the SEC than they are for the Big Ten. I mean, they're literally telling you, every playoff predictor I saw yesterday on the screen had Tennessee at a 59% chance. They have a better than 50% chance to make the playoffs. They have a loss, and they are not currently in the top 4. So they are just waiting for the loser of our game to get put out, right? And for them to slide Tennessee into that 4th spot. And then the championship weekend will really have no bearing on that because Tennessee doesn't have to play in their championship game, and Michigan won't be playing, or Ohio State won't be playing.
Yeah.
They set the ceilings for how each team was going to be able to progress based off of what they did in the initial rankings. everybody's like, oh, it doesn't matter. It'll work itself out. No, that's exactly why it matters, because they put a cap on your team's potential the minute that they start ranking you based off of how many teams you've beaten in their rankings, even though we've been playing football for 7 weeks before you even convened. I don't think that they're going to do that because they've already set up the door. Here's the best chance we got. And this is not me like just, trying to, because obviously I want my team to win, but this is the best chance we got is Michigan wins because Ohio State is already 2 and they have such a high likelihood to make the playoff. Ohio State loses, takes 1 loss, takes the championship week off, watches everybody else play and win or lose, and then they hop back into the 4 spot. But if Michigan gets put out and they're 11-1 and they're sitting there on championship weekend twiddling their thumbs, they're not going to jump. They're not going to jump Tennessee with Michigan. They're not going to do it. They've already told you that they're not going to do it.
Yeah, something told me that. Yeah, that's literally how it has to play out.
How does that make sense? They have a 59% chance of getting in. They have a better half of chance, and they're not going to their championship game. They're not going to their conference championship game. Oh, we love conference champions. We honor conference champions. You honor conference champions, then go get the Big 12 champion then. Well, I forgot about. Well, TCU will be 3 at that point.
Yeah,
TCU will be 3 at that point.
Yeah. But then you'd have to get the Pac champion, which would probably be.
So you don't have to because Oregon just lost. And they're a 2-loss team. I don't think they're going to put a 2-loss Pac championship or a 2-loss Pac-12 champion.
Have 2 losses?
Well, if USC wins, they may have an argument. But what's up with their strength of schedule? Who have they beaten?
They would have beaten.
That's worth a damn.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like who have they beaten? That's worth a damn.
But they would have won in their Pac conference championship
against
maybe?
2. Well, okay, if they win the Pac at 11 or at 12-1, then great. They're probably in. Probably. Maybe. I could still see them putting a 1-loss Tennessee in over USC because of USC's strength of schedule, according to them.
See, my only thing is that Tennessee got drugged by Georgia.
I don't think that matters.
And so
as much
a close game between
for some
2
reason
of the top 3 teams.
For some reason, when we're talking to athletic directors and TV executives and what have you, marquee matchups matter more than in-game performance, and that's just it. Who you've beat, their name and the number next to their name matters more than how you actually performed in those games. To this committee. And that's really what it boils down to. How you play the games, how you perform in the games, how you look in the games matters least to them. It is who have you beat and what were they ranked. That is more important. And when they say where were they ranked, they're not talking about any other ranking but their own.
Which would just be nuts. If Tennessee gets in and gets drugged by a team again.
The same team that they already got drugged by several weeks earlier.
Oh, yeah. I guess if they go in at 4, yeah. Yep.
We shall see, man. How did your team do in Week 11? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And come back next week for another review.
And make sure you check out some of our previous week's recaps. And make sure you subscribe. We'll be talking about college football all the way to the national championship.